Hi, everyone. Welcome into today's webinar. My name is Nick Child, and I am the Director of Client Experience here at Harris Federal Employee Law Firm. And we're really excited to have you here today. We're going to talk about what special provisions employees need to know about their federal disability retirement benefits. And this is important because special provisions employees have stricter job requirements, and that can sometimes aid them in getting approved for disability retirement. So if you're a special provisions employee, this information is going to be critical for you to understand. So with that being said, you're in for a treat today as I'm joined here by Anna Barnes and Ashley Withers. Anna is the Director of Case Processing here at Harris Federal, and she truly is an expert on this benefit. She's helped our firm garner over 4,500 disability retirement approvals, and we've done that at a 99% success rate. So what we do here, we couldn't do without Anna, and I'm glad that she's going to be able to walk you through this benefit. Ashley Withers, that's going to be on here, she is another critical member of our team. And as a senior disability case manager, she's helped countless federal employees get approved for their benefits. And I'm really excited to have them walk you through this just really important topic. So before we get started, make sure you take a second to find the comment section. Should be towards the bottom of your screen. We'll put up a graphic here so you know where to find it. Please take this opportunity to post your questions here. We have team members standing by ready to answer those questions as they come in, and we'll try to get to them as quickly as we can, but really take advantage of that. So we hope you're ready to learn more about this benefit and ask some great questions. So without further ado, here is Ashley and Anna.
Thanks, Nick. Hey, everybody. Welcome in. My name's Ashley Withers. I'm a senior federal disability case manager here at Harris Federal, and I'm sitting with Anna Barnes. She's the director of case processing here. Thank you, Anna.
Thank you, Ashley. I'm so excited to be here.
Me too. Anna knows so much about federal disability retirement and all the ins and outs of this benefit. So I am so happy to be sitting here with her talking about specifically special provisions. We're going to get into understanding special provisions and what that means for those that are eligible under disability retirement. Anna, we have been talking about doing a podcast for so long, so I am so happy to be here answering questions. So let's go ahead and get started.
Let's do it.
Can you talk a little bit about what special provisions is and how it applies to disability retirement?
Absolutely. Special provisions employees are a group of federal employees who fall under some different requirements for age and service. And then they also have a slightly different calculation for their retirement annuity. And these positions get special treatment of their retirement date and the amount the government is actually contributing to their annuity as well.
Okay, and like you said, it's a group of federal employees. As we know, not every federal employee falls under special provisions.
Correct.
So can you go through the groups, the different departments, the different federal employees that would fall under special provisions?
Yes. So most law enforcement officers or LEOs fall under special provisions. Firefighters and air traffic controllers also fall under special provisions, and then military reserve technicians do as well, but their age and service requirements are still the same as regular FERS employees, so they get the special calculation, but their age and service requirements are the same.
And I'm so glad we're talking about special provisions right now, too, because there are so many federal employees that don't even realize this is a thing, that don't realize this falls under disability retirement. So for those that aren't aware, how would they be able to confirm that they do fall under special provisions? Is there a way that they can check?
So there are a few different ways, but the easiest way is going to be checking their SF-50 because it will specifically say right on their retirement special provisions.
Perfect. Okay, and then can we talk a little bit about how this is different, how this varies from just the traditional federal disability retirement?
So there are a few main differences. The first one is going to be the age and service requirements. If you fall under special provisions, your age and service requirements are either 50 years old with 20 years of service, which means if you're 50 and you have 20 years under special provisions, you can go out on an immediate retirement. And then also you can go out after 25 years of service under special provisions at any age.
Okay. And that 20 years, it has to be all under special provisions, correct? It cannot be from military time.
That is correct. It can't be for military time, and it cannot be other FERS service that was not under special provisions.
So, under special provisions, the calculation is a little bit different than just the FERS regular calculation. So, can you break that down a little bit as to how special provisions under disability retirement is calculated?
Yeah, so under special provisions, a special provisions employee who's retiring gets 1.7% of their high three average for each year of creditable service they have up to 20 years. So they get 1.7% up to 20 years, and then each creditable year after 20, they get 1%.
Perfect. Okay, and also keep in mind, everyone, we will be answering questions throughout this webinar, so feel free to ask anything if you have any questions about the breakdown and how this may vary from the traditional FERS disability retirement. And this, as you mentioned before, the mandatory retirement age, what is that about?
Employees under special provisions have a mandatory retirement, which is different than regular FERS employees. They do not. So under special provisions, depending on which category you fall under, you are required to retire at age 57 or 56 if you have at least 20 years of service. So you do not get the choice to continue working. They require you to retire at that age.
And at that point, you would be eligible for just a regular retirement.
Correct. So you'd be eligible for your regular immediate retirement.
Okay, great. So that was really awesome information on how special provisions is unique. Let's just give a little bit of a brief overview on the disability retirement benefit. Anna's going to go in depth on these 4 key points for disability retirement, but we're going to talk a little bit about monthly annuity, how those who are eligible for disability retirement will receive monthly income, how you can also work in the private sector when approved for disability retirement. We'll also talk about how you will be able to accrue creditable years of service while on this benefit, as well as how you can keep your health and life insurance after approval. So Anna, can you talk a little bit about how much disability retirement pays and the breakdown of that benefit?
Sure. So for the first year that you're on disability retirement, you will receive 60% of your high three salary. And then each year after that, you'll receive 40% of your high three salary until age 62. And these payments are taxable.
Right. Okay. And what is the high three salary?
So your high three salary is your 3 highest consecutive years of salary averaged. It is generally your most recent 36 months of salary. Not always, but that is usually the case.
And we do have a chart here for what that breakdown looks like. Anna, can you give kind of an example of what it would be like as if you made, your high three was 100,000?
Sure. So if your high three was 100,000, that's represented by this first bar. It shows 100% of your high three average. So hypothetically, if 100,000 was the high three, the first year that you were on disability retirement, you would receive 60%, which would be $60,000. And then each year after that, until 62, you would receive 40%, which would be $40,000. And that would be your annual income. And so those are paid monthly though.
Right. And something that is really awesome about this benefit that specifically differs from being on like a Social Security disability is that you are able to continue working while receiving disability retirement. We have a few restrictions. We do recommend that you work in the private sector. Anna, can you talk a little bit about those restrictions if these on the benefit would like to get another job?
Yeah, so when you're receiving disability retirement, you can continue working in the private sector and earn up to 80% of your previous position's current salary on top of your disability retirement payments. So we have a ton of clients who go on to pursue a new career in teaching or real estate or many other things. And one thing that's really important to remember about this benefit is that it is for an occupational disability, not a total disability, which means you can't perform your current job, but that does not mean you can't perform other work.
Right. And as you said, you can make up to 80% of what your previous federal position is paying.
Currently, yes.
Okay, so we have another chart here. Let's dive into this a little bit so we can see what it would look like while working in the private sector in addition to receiving your monthly annuity. Anna, can you break this down just a little?
Absolutely. So you see here this 100% again, this represents your original salary with the federal government. And we're going to say that that is $100,000 to follow the previous example. So for the first year, you see this bottom 60% represents what you're going to receive for your disability retirement. And this top 80% represents what you could make working in the private sector. And if we're talking about $100,000 as an original salary, you can see that this stacks and equates to 140% or $140,000 for year one. When we move to year 2 and forward, the 40% represents that $40,000 that you would make from your disability retirement. And then again, we'll stack that additional 80% that you can make in the private sector. And that comes to up to 120% of your original salary or $120,000. So in theory, you could have this benefit, work in the private sector, and make more than you were making while you were working for the federal government.
Okay, awesome. It's really great to see this breakdown and how this benefit varies from a lot of other benefits, wherein you can continue to work on this benefit and receive potentially more than you were making in your previous federal position. And another awesome point of this benefit, if you look at the bottom of this chart, the 60%, the 40%, this is something that our clients really value, this safety net, that this income is always there. This is something you'll continue to receive year after year until you turn 62, regardless of whether or not you work in the private sector, that this is income coming in month after month.
Yeah, Ashley, that is what is so great about this benefit, is just knowing that we help people have this secured income year after year.
And another big perk to the disability retirement benefit is while you are on it, you are able to continue receiving creditable years of service. So Anna, can you kind of give us just a picture of what that looks like?
Sure. So as you work in the federal government, you're accruing creditable years of service for each year that you work there. And if you go out on a disability retirement, every year that you receive the benefit until age 62 adds another year of creditable service to your total federal time. So this is really important when you're thinking about what your eventual retirement annuity is going to look like, because those creditable years of service compound when you turn 62 and count towards your regular retirement calculation.
So when you go out on the regular retirement, when you flip over to that at age 62, it will be as if you had worked in your federal position until that time.
Absolutely.
And this is another big pro for the special provisions because that applies to special provisions.
That is correct. So it does not change for them at mandatory retirement age. They continue to accrue years of service until age 62 as well if they take a disability retirement.
Okay, great. And for just to clarify, so if there was a federal employee under special provisions and they started working for the federal government at age 30, say, and then they got out on the disability retirement at age 40, by the time they turned 62, they would have how many years of creditable service?
So they would have a total of 32 years of creditable service. And the really cool thing about this for special provisions employees is that the 10 years that they worked, they'd receive the 1.7% calculation.
Right.
But also the first 10 years that they're on disability retirement, they would get that 1.7% per year calculation. And then it's 1% for each year after that.
And another awesome point for this benefit is that you are able to maintain your health and life insurance once you have been approved for disability retirement as well. As long as you had those benefits while you were on the rolls, you can elect to carry those over into retirement. So hopefully you can see how great of a benefit this is for federal employees. And at this point, you might have some questions as to how you might qualify for disability retirement. We're going to jump in a little bit into the medical conditions. Anna, can you give us some details as to what medical conditions would qualify for disability retirement?
Yeah, Ashley. So the medical condition that you're applying for disability retirement must have arisen during your employment as a federal employee Or it could also be a pre-existing condition that worsened during your employment. So this does not have to be a work-related condition. It could have happened outside of work. And there are many, you can see our examples listed here, many different types of disabilities that could be qualifying for a disability retirement.
Right. So essentially, this is just a condition, disease, or injury that prevents you from performing the duties of your position.
Exactly.
And federal disability retirement specifically differs from workers' compensation here, wherein the injury or condition does not have to have occurred on the job.
That's exactly right. So, for example, you could have been on vacation and broken your leg and have had permanent issues stemming from that, and that could end up being a qualifying condition for disability retirement.
Right. And specifically with medical conditions, when they arise, sometimes agencies, with the reasonable accommodation and reassignment process, will provide a modified work assignment. How does that factor in?
So, a modified work assignment does not count as an accommodation as far as disability retirement is concerned. So, you may be working in a modified position because of your restrictions, and that may have been helping you continue stay employed with your agency. But it's really important to remember that modified job assignments are not protected and they can be taken at any time. So, your agency is not required to keep you in that modified position.
Right. So you can work a light duty temporary assignment and continue to remain eligible for a disability retirement.
That's exactly right. So the only time you would no longer be eligible for a disability retirement is if your agency can truly accommodate or reassign you. And a reassignment has such strict criteria for a disability retirement that it is really rare to see a valid offer of reassignment. A valid offer of reassignment must be an existing vacant position within your commuting area, at your current pay and grade level, within your medical restrictions for which you are qualified. So you can see how that would be really difficult for an agency to find a true reassignment offer.
Right. And if the agency does not meet those criteria, a federal employee can decline that offer of reassignment.
That's right. They can decline it and it won't have any impact on their disability retirement.
So as we mentioned previously, the federal disability retirement benefit is different from a Social Security disability, specifically wherein this is an occupational disability. It does not mean that you cannot work, period. It's just that you can no longer work in your current federal position. Anna, can you give us a little bit more details on that?
For sure. So like you said, like I said, this is occupational disability, not total disability. So you just have to prove that you're unable to perform one essential duty of your position because of your medical conditions. And that can be shown with a deficiency in service. So a deficiency in performance, attendance, or conduct caused by your medical conditions. Or you can be unable to provide useful and efficient service in your position. So you're just proving that you can't perform your current job, not that you can't perform any job.
Right. So for a specific example, say you have a federal air marshal who has had a knee replacement, can no longer run, defend themselves or others. They would be eligible for a disability retirement because they can no longer work as a federal air marshal.
Exactly. And that's also a really good example of how that federal air marshal could then go out and get a job in the private sector where he's not required to run or protect himself, but is still able to earn up to that 80% of his current job's previous salary.
Right. That is great. So we're going to jump back a little bit specifically to special provisions employees and why they should apply for a disability retirement if they have a medical condition, disease, or injury that prevents them from performing their specific duties of their position. So Anna, can you give us just a little bit of info on those fit for duty requirements?
Yeah, so most special provisions employees are subject to fit for duty exams on an annual basis, and these exams measure their physical capability of performing their job. It can also measure their mental capability depending on the exam, but in the event that they fail a fit for duty, they're almost immediately proving that they're medically unable to perform the duties of their position.
Right.
And this is unique to special provisions. Not many regular FERS employees have fit for duty exams. So this is a really easy way to know whether or not you're on the path to applying for disability retirement.
And in addition to those fit for duty requirements, a lot of times special provisions positions have medication allowances wherein they cannot take specific medications and be able to perform their duties. How does that kind of factor in?
So, special provisions employees are often required to carry a firearm. So, if they're taking any type of antidepressant or antipsychotic, that can immediately disqualify them from carrying a firearm, which is an essential duty of their position.
Right. And on this next slide, we have another couple examples of conditions that might prevent you from being able to perform the essential duties of your position and might have those medications that disqualify you from performing those duties. There are a lot more examples, but here's just some of the main ones that we typically see for special provisions employees.
And one thing to note here, too, is that a lot of physical injuries that special provisions employees have can be caused by their training. I've seen that time and time again.
Right. And going over those specific details for special provisions again, this creditable of service, they continue to accrue until they are 62, which makes a difference in that annuity.
Yep, that's exactly right. So instead of stopping accruing years of service at age 57 or 56, they will continue to accrue until age 62, at which time it will switch over to a regular retirement that will still be calculated at the special provisions rate.
Perfect. When they are able to apply for disability retirement prior to that mandatory retirement age.
Exactly.
And another point with the special provisions under disability retirement is they have the leap pay for the law enforcement officers specifically. Can you give us a little bit of info on that?
Yes, so included in the high 3 salary average for most special provisions employees is what's called LEAP, or law enforcement availability pay. It's also known as administratively uncontrollable overtime, and this can represent up to 25% of a law enforcement officer's pay. There are some agencies that do not include this in their high 3, but to determine which agency that is, you'll have to take a look at your SF50.
Right. And you'll be able to see your salary, including the leap pay, on an SF50.
Exactly.
So don't hesitate to apply for this disability retirement benefit, even if you have not been separated from service. If you are on light duty, if you've been off work, if you just have concerns about the security of your position, you are able to go ahead and submit an application for the disability retirement benefit. We want to specifically touch on the fact that there is a strict 1-year deadline to file your application. So while you can still apply while you are on the rolls, you are able to apply if you have been separated, but please keep in mind there is an extremely strict 1-year deadline where you have to submit your application to the OPM before you have been separated for 365 days.
That's exactly right, Ashley. And this benefit is super complex. There's a lot that goes into applying for it. I've helped Harris Federal Law Firm get over 4,500 approvals for federal employees for this disability retirement benefit. And while you can submit an application on your own, it really makes the most sense to have a professional help you, just like you would having your taxes prepared. You'd call a CPA. So it's really important to us as a company to help federal employees obtain the benefits they deserve. And this disability retirement benefit is one that a lot of federal employees don't know even exists.
Right.
So, we really, really implore you to reach out to us if you think you may be eligible. We can kind of guide you through what that looks like, let you know if you do have a case, and kind of help you down that path towards getting that secure financial annuity in order and so on.
Right. And while there is reconsideration, and you can also go through MSPB following that, there really is one shot just to get this application correct and strong from the beginning.
That's exactly right. Yeah, I've seen clients whose benefit has ended up being worth $1 million over the course of their lifetime. And there are so many different choices you make at this initial application level that it's important to really understand what it is you're electing, what your spouse will receive, what your family will be eligible for. So there's just no reason not to have a professional help you through this process.
Right. And our firm Also, works with the doctors to get your medical records, works with the agencies to get those forms completed, in addition to going through all the complex application forms that the federal employees themselves would be responsible for.
Yes, we do.
All right, Anna, let's wrap this up. Let's cover some of those key points that we've gone over so far in this webinar.
Sure. Well, I think one of the things we talked about a lot was that your medical condition does not have to be a work-related injury.
Right. Specifically, that differs from workers' compensation.
Right. Another thing that's really important about this benefit is that it helps you secure a monthly income, so you have a money coming in every month.
Right. And in addition to that, you can work in the private sector, making up to 80% of what your federal position is paying.
And you do get to continue earning creditable years of service while you're on the benefit, as well as maintain your life and health insurance benefits.
And we went over all those different factors for special provisions, how those employees are eligible and what benefits they can receive, and those specific service requirements.
Right. And if you are a special provisions employee, it's important to remember, one, that this benefit is available to you just like any other federal employee. And two, that a lot of special provisions jobs have a lot higher physical requirements. And so It may be a little easier to get approved for disability retirement.
And we do want to reiterate, do not delay. Just keep in mind that specific 1-year deadline to file an application with the Office of Personnel Management if you have been separated. You have 365 days to get that application submitted. So we know this was a lot of information. We hope we got your questions answered. We will be answering questions for the next couple minutes on this webinar. Anna, thank you so much for sitting with me here and going over all of this information. I know we covered a lot of details.
Yeah, thank you, Ashley. I had a great time going over this. I really love being able to educate federal employees who might be eligible for this benefit. We both have seen a lot of federal employees who are in a position where they needed our help, and it's been a true honor to be able to help them.
It has been such an honor to speak with the federal employees that we talk to every day, walking them through this benefit and those eligibility requirements. If you have any question as to whether or not you may be eligible for disability retirement, please do not hesitate to call our office. You can schedule a free consultation at any point. We would be happy to speak to you.
Yeah, thank you again so much, Ashley. With that, we're going to turn it back over to Nick.
Hey, thanks, Ashley and Anna. Great job, guys. Thank you all for joining us here today. We're going to answer questions here for another 10 minutes or so. If you have questions that we don't get to or questions that are very specific to your situation, please call our office and schedule a free consultation. That will really help you understand your options in the context of your specific situation. So I can't recommend that enough. We'll also email a replay of this session out about an hour after we're finished here. So you'll have access to this information to review at your leisure later. We do more webinars like this every couple of weeks. So make sure you check out the schedule on our website. There you can register for the future webinars. And this is a great way to share this information with your friends or colleagues that could really benefit from it. Finally, the last thing I want to get to is we really understand that if you're looking at this benefit, you're in a situation you didn't expect to be in. It can be frustrating, confusing, and intimidating. So we just want you to know our goal here is always to just educate federal employees so that they can understand their benefits, so that we can help people like you find a more secure future by using the benefits you've worked really hard for. So take advantage of this information and give our office a call. We really appreciate you being here today. Can't thank you enough, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks.